Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Lewis, Lavelle, Rose up the middle, looking, cutting, shooting, go! Lavelle to another U.S.
And the crowd goes wild as we beat the Dutch 2-0, and we win the World Cup because we were supposed to, because nobody is anywhere near as good as us. You're such a jerk, Chad. Give them what they want. They want $1 billion. Back it up. Open up the vaults. Give it to them all. You know what's interesting? So I watched last week, and I watched most of the games, right? I'm pulling for America. I want us to win. I think the way we won 13-0 the first game, the way we celebrated was a little chumpish. But, act like you've been there before. But the reality was we were so much better than anybody else. It's not even close. It's not. It's not even close. They're getting better, and they've had their moments, but this team here in particular is so much better than the rest of the world. And if we had somebody who could really score goals, like a poacher, we would call it in the game, I think every game would have been ugly. I mean, if it wasn't for the Dutch goalie in the first half, it could have been 3-4 nothing at halftime. And we had chances to put the game away just a bunch of times. And we didn't. We missed opportunity after opportunity. But good for them. Now, I don't know what's going to happen from here. I got to be honest with you. Are they going to meet the president? Probably not. They're going to go hang out with AOC, right? And they're going to hang out with Pelosi. And they're going to do everything to avoid the president, which is totally fine, albeit he did at least somewhat acknowledge.
I want to congratulate the women's soccer team on winning the World Cup. That's an incredible achievement. It was a very exciting game. I got to see a little bit of it.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't really that exciting. I'll be honest. It wasn't that really exciting. We were so much. I woke up yesterday. I opened up my phone. I was just looking at some emails and ESPN. I went to ESPN, and it was basically how many goals are we going to score? What is this going to be like? Because they knew it wasn't going to happen. Right? There just wasn't. The amount of money that we pour into it, even though they're in the final and they're the European champions, the amount of money we pour into women's sports. And I'm not just talking about the professional level, right? I want everybody, since Title IX in particular, right, which means you're offering women's sports, there's got to be an equal amount of women's sports and things on college campuses and things like that. Since this, most of those women that saw playing, if you watched any of this World Cup, a good majority of them all went to college here, played soccer here in college, because that was their best route to get somewhere. Some of those women, not yesterday, but in a few of the other teams, some of those women had a choice to play for America or play for other teams. They weren't going to make the American squad, but the chance to play in the World Cup is too much of an allure not to. I mean, let's be real, right? Right? If tomorrow they come and say, hey, Chad, Haiti says that you could play for their national team in the World Cup, I'm like, damn, Skippy, I'm playing in the World Cup, kids. Like Phil and I are going to go. We may play for, we may be archers for Romania. We're going to the Olympics. We're having fun, right? It's a one-time thing. Chad, that's not right. But we do. We pour so much money, and good. And it shows. It absolutely shows. And we won, and congratulations. We're going to break down a lot of that other stuff later, especially with the stuff that was said afterwards and money and the whole 9 yards, and give you a realization of what it actually looks like comparatively. But one thing I will say is I'm over you being a victim, right? Right? Like Alex Morgan scores a goal. She does the T thing, which I thought was hilarious. And everybody criticized her. But I don't know who really criticized her. The English did, but that's the English. That's fine. You scored a goal against them. They should have stopped you. And it was a much closer game. And you did that. And it's all good, right? Well, men wouldn't get that. Are you kidding? Men all the time get criticized for the way they do and celebrate things in sports. All the time. Nonstop. So slow our rolls. You're not a victim. You're not. The fact that you are where you are, doing what you're doing, shows you what not a victim you are. The English pay their women £30,000 a year, about $40,000 a year. Our girls that are all on this team, they've got a contract that pays them $100,000+ a year. Out of this year, they'll probably make $300,000-$400,000, not counting all the sponsorship deals. Is it anything near what that men make? No. And I'm just talking about men in general, players, some of the biggest. But settle down. Again, you're not a victim. Was that third wave feminism, where you have to talk about what a victim you are, even though you're sitting up there in a situation where you're kind of in the catbird seat. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you had a good last week. Thank Greg for sitting in with me last week because I took some time off. It was much needed. I tried to avoid everything, and I kind of did. I saw some stories here and there, but it was back at it over the last couple days. And to tell you what, one of the things I think is going to be interesting, and I continue to say this, is we have four parties in this country that are viable in a lot of ways, and they're battling. Each party, right, the Republicans and the Democrats, there's this umbrella, this tent that they're under. Inside of that tent is two parties now, right? You've got the uber conservatives, the Trumpians, those kind of, and then you've got people that are essentially kind of that middle of the road. Oh, they're rhinos, whatever you want to call it. And then you've got uber progressives and just the middle of the road Democrats. And Pelosi came out this week and she just hammered the uber left side of the aisle. And they're not happy about it. AOC, Rashid Tlaib.
It is very disappointing that the speaker would ever try to diminish our voices in so many ways.
She's not. She's not diminishing your voices. She's not coming after you guys. You guys are taking it that way. What she's saying essentially is, you guys don't really get it, right? You're a few. The big blue tsunami that happened was the many, not the few, was the average run-of-the-mill Democrat, right? Believes some of the things you believe, understands middle America, doesn't want to change America, it's not for open borders, maybe pro-choice, mostly union, those kind of things. You guys are living in a different world. And she kind of pointed that out. And so did Biden.
I think Ocasio-Cortez is a brilliant, bright woman, but she won a primary. In the general election fights, won mainstream Democrats who are very progressive on social issues and very strong on education, health care. Look, my North Star is the middle class. When the middle class does well, everybody does well.
Yeah. And I think Biden learned, you know what? I got to separate myself, and they're going to come after me for the most inane things in the world, like stuff you did 50 years ago, 40 years ago. I mean, it's just, and he's got a record. And when you have a record, you've got something to show, right? When you've got something to show, people can criticize it. And that's what they're going to do. But he's right. Man, he's just spot on right. Doesn't get any righter than that. You don't speak for middle America. You don't. You're from New York, right? You're from Berkeley or LA or where you're from, these places where you're coming out there and you're uber progressive and you think that everybody wants this. No, what they want is they want a strong middle class. Socially, and this is funny, he said, well, socially we're progressive. To a certain extent. Again, you go look at, they're pro-choice, but to a certain level, right? They're pro-choice the first trimester, and then a precipitous drop after that. They want a border that's strong, and they want laws enforced. They may not be for a wall, but they don't want a free, open border society. And it's really interesting to watch the way that they break this thing down. And I think he realized, hey, you know what? My lane's right here. Just be middle-class Joe. Stay here. When they raise their hands and say, hey, we want to give everybody who's come here illegally all the free health care they can handle, say, no, that's not what we're about. He's got to stay his path and stay away from their craziness, because that's where he's going to get caught up in. And I've said it since day one. His hardest race will be getting out of the primaries, and I just don't know if he can do it. If you look at the polls right now, not showing well for Biden. He's coming back to the pack, and they're gaining on him fast. The wolves are nipping at the heels. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. He is, it's interesting. So you got this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. So here's this character who is, how do we explain it? He's a hedge fund guy. He's a scumbag of epic proportions. But because he's got the kind of money that he's got, the opportunities for him to hang around in and around areas of people of influence, because he is one, is massive. Is absolutely massive. And he has. And Bill Clinton, even Trump said, hey, dude's a good dude, I know him. But here he is being indicted today, and this is a big story because I'm watching the news. They're all trying to tie it back to Trump said he was a good guy in 2002. He was indicted and pled guilty in 2008. And Trump said, hey, he's a good guy, and he likes beautiful women like me, although his are a little bit younger. And now it's like, oh, he knew. And this is to watch this thing, remembering the fact that people talked about this for a long time, that Bill Clinton was really close to this guy. This guy was on Bill Clinton's played 26 times. 26 times. But all you'll hear today is Trump said he was a good guy. Said he was a good cat. Did. Said he was. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. I want to talk today, too, about the whole Nike controversy with the flag. And was it PC to pull it or was it not? And my question is simple: is if this is it, right? If this is where we're going with these kind of things now, which is where a lot of people think that we're going to be going over and over again, and I try to remind people, think back about 18 months ago, 24 months ago, UCI, University of California, Irvine, where they had a meeting where they were going to get rid of the American flag because it offended people. Is that where we're headed? This bizarre world of everything that has made America great, we want to get rid of. For what? And I watched an amazing documentary over the weekend about Stalin, and I've read so many things about him, and this was very interesting. But there's a great quote in there. He essentially said, "Hey, if we're going to move forward, we need to destroy the past. This is what we need to do. We need to get rid of the past." And I feel like a lot of people out there feeling that we need to get rid of the past. And I don't think we can do that. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's wrong. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are just hoping and praying. Let's get rid of all the past. We'll move forward. We'll make our own. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You tweet at us. Love hearing from you. My pillow. I slept great. I'm on a little vacation, relaxing. Took a bunch of naps. It was awesome. It's weird, too, because I go to bed really late and I get up really early. So it took a few days, but I took my naps today and it was amazing. And it was my pillow. It's just my pillow and me, just relaxing, sleeping away. Right now, they've got something that's amazing for you. It's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you got nothing to lose. You try the My Pillow for a limited time. If you don't like it, send it back, get your money back. But you're going to love it. You are. And get ready for this. 2 premium pillows, less than $70. $69.98. It's the lowest price ever offered to my listeners, and it's your chance to get it right now with no risk to you. 10-year warranty, made in the USA, machine washable and dryable as well. 2 premium pillows, less than $70. Go to mypillow.com, mypillow.com. Use promo code Benson. That's mypillow.com, promo code Benson, or call 800-983-4975. Remember, 60-day money-back guarantee. They're going to ship it to you free. 2 premium pillows, $69.98. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. This is the Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Fui!
Fui, fui, and double fui!
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Fui to family too!
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
Today ends our presidential campaign. But it is the beginning of an opportunity in Congress with a new perspective.
That's Eric Swalwell. He's just the worst. So he's out. So now we're down to 74. So what I'm trying to tell you is he didn't get the rose. Just so bad. I was watching earlier. Did you see how much money that Elizabeth Warren raised? $19 million, more than Harris, more than Bernie. But they never talked about the fact that Mayor Pete raised $24 million. It's just all about Elizabeth Warren. They're looking. Who can beat Trump? Who is going to be the person that beats Trump? Who could it be? They don't care who it is. They don't. God, they don't care who it is. They just want somebody. Let me tell you who it's not going to be. Swalwell. Because he's awful. I love the fact that Marianne Williamson is still in it. I don't know if you guys saw this, but after the first debates, she started getting tons of money pouring in from Republicans who don't want to see her gone. She's become the new Sanjaya. She's vote for the worst. Like, make sure that she can stay the course because she's insane. No, look, some of the stuff she talks about, and I've read some of her stuff, she's an interesting woman, and some of it I don't disagree with at all. But when you're talking about politics and you're talking about this stuff, this isn't the place, right? This isn't. Could you imagine her, for all of the stuff, this is always one of those things I want you guys to think about. Just for a second. Think about a really nasty situation, Xi Jinping and Elizabeth Warren, right? Think about the Pooter and Marianne Williamson. Just think about that situation going on when she hands him one of those pyramids or maybe a crystal. Will you hold on to this with me, Vlad? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? You're crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Let's talk about equity. Let's talk about soccer. Let's talk about, do they deserve it? Cash-ola. 323-538-2423. I have to be honest with you. I was stoked we won, but at the same time, they're not a lovable group. They're not. You know who was? The Swedes. Oh, Chad, you're a jerk. A little bit. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay! The U.S. women's team brings in more revenue than the men's. More people watch them. So the question is, why are they still only getting 18 cents on the dollar?
Wow. I mean, it's not a little bit of money, but they get $250,000 for their win. A man would have gotten $1.1 million for the win.
Quite a difference.
That's really significant.
Yes, it is. And the reason is simple. I'm going to tell you this, people. I want you to hold on to your hats and glasses because here's the truthful thing in the wilderness. Because the men bring in more revenue. And the game's better to watch. There you go. It's an inferior product. You want the truth? That's the truth. I hate to break it to you. I rooted the girls on. I watched the games, right? Not going to lie to you. Had fun. It was good. But Chad, they should get, hey, you know what? The last couple of years, yeah, they have. They brought in more money. Like $1 million more. The men don't play nearly as often as the women, right? Nearly as often as the women. And they don't have a salary. The women on this team all had a salary of what they got paid. And by the way, our women get paid so much more than all of the other women around the globe. But the reality is this has nothing to do with the United States Soccer Federation. This has all to do with how they get paid globally by FIFA for their win. $4 billion is what FIFA made off of the Russia World Cup last year. I think it was about 35, maybe 40 million when all is said and done off this. Soak that up for a second. There's a difference But 1 billion people watched, not yesterday, 1 billion people watched the entire tournament. 3.5 billion people turned in to watch the final at some point in the men's last year. But they don't advertise. If they advertise, it still doesn't matter. I don't care how good you think Megan Rapinoe is. It ain't Ronaldo, right? She ain't Ronaldo. I don't care how good you think Alex Morgan is. That's not Messi. No, it's just not. That's the reality of it. Hate to break it to you. But ladies on The View, you guys obviously know everything.
Soccer players are soccer players.
Yeah.
So why is there such a disparity? I mean, it's not like women can't play this game. I don't understand.
It also should be the ticket sales, the supply and demand. That you want to go,
Yeah.
the ticket sales determine the amount of money you should be paid. Yeah. So it's obviously sexism. What else could you say?
What else could you say? Well, here's the thing. We got Major League Soccer, and do many of you know we have a professional women's soccer league? No, you don't. You don't know that. Few teams. It's like the 20th incarnation. It's like the WNBA. You know what the WNBA is? It's a write-off for the NBA. A write-off. I heard somebody today say, well, I think the women should get paid as much as the NBA players. I said, I think you're insane. It's nuts. It's just what it is. Supply and look, pay the women more if you want. Pay them more. Go ahead, pay them more. I got no problem with that. But when it comes to the World Cup money, the reality is this has nothing to do with the United States soccer. That has all to do with the people who hosted it, which is FIFA. That's the big, giant governing body of everything. They run everything. And they're the ones who dole out the money. And by the way, percentage-wise, the women get more than the men do. And I'm gonna also say this, right? Maybe it hurts everybody's feelings. For the men that win it, it means nothing. You know, they get $1 million. They're probably stoked. You know, Messi makes $1 million a week just on his salary after taxes. They don't play for their country because they get paid for it. The men don't get paid anything unless they play a game. But it's a revenue thing. And if you want to get down to it, the reality is when it comes to things like this, it's great. We tune in for God's sakes to watch ice skating. Because we like big things, like the Olympics, like the Super Bowl. We like events. But the minute it's over, after a couple weeks, this will die down. The girls will go on all the talk shows and do all those kind of things. And we'll see them on Colbert and this, that, and the other. You know, Rapinoe's going to be the first one sitting on his that thing. Tell me something horrible about Donald Trump. And all. We used to get paid the same amount of money as Messi because you're just as good as him. No, not even close. I remind you guys 2 years ago, pretty much the same cast of characters that won. And God bless him. Quite frankly, I was a little disappointed. They should have won every game comfortably by 5 or 6 goals. None of these countries they played against were anywhere close to them. The fact that it got close was kind of sad. But hell, great, they won it. But I just want to remind you guys, Dallas under-15 team beat them 5-2 a couple years ago. And Australia, which was one of the favorites, they were beat a couple months ago by an under-15 team handily as well. Boys. Maybe they should be invited to the White House. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But I'm sorry, Meghan McCain, you know everything about soccer.
I can't name one male player, and I think we can all name several female players at this point because they've all become stars. So I think it's just straight sexism. Yeah, and it's that simple. Sorry, I mean, I don't follow soccer. I started following this because obviously America was doing so well, but they're not even a blip. The men's team didn't even qualify. Again, like they didn't even qualify for the World Cup because that's how much they suck.
Oh, they suck. Well, quite frankly, they should have made the World Cup. They did suck. Had to play real teams. Haiti almost beat Mexico to make it to the Gold Cup final. Haiti. An island famous for what? For earthquakes and voodoo. Curacao made it to the semifinals. Curacao probably doesn't have a women's team, and if they did, I can guarantee you that Thailand would beat them 5-6-7-0. That's the reality of it. The men, because we have put so much into women's sports across the board comparatively to the rest of the globe, we are so far ahead of everybody else. especially in team sports. And by the way, a lot of those women you saw play over the last month, a majority of them at some point in time either played here or went to college and played here because we gave them opportunities to do that where other countries didn't. Now they're starting to slowly but surely come along. Some of these big teams, like yesterday, they played in Lyon, the final, not in Paris. Why? Because Lyon is the best women's team. They pay semi-decent wages. Some of these clubs are pouring money and trying to bring women along. But the reality is at the end of the day, I don't know any of the men. I guarantee you, the guy sitting on the bench last night, you could have took 6 of those male players and a goalie, and they probably just smoked the women's team. Here's a name for you, Christian Pulisic. He's our first star. And by the way, when it comes to men's sports and soccer in particular, we're starting so far behind the rest of the globe. You have no idea how far we've started behind. You want to know how I know? Because when I was 17, I moved over there and realized how far behind we were compared to where we are now. It's just a simple equation. The men make more money. And here's something for you. Women's tennis. I throw this out there all the time. I throw it out there again. Women's tennis, when it comes to the majors, Wimbledon's going on right now, they all get paid the same. In all of them, the Australian, the U.S. Open, the French, Wimbledon, they all get paid the same when it comes to those. The men have complained because the revenue that they bring in is bigger. And secondly, they have to go 5 sets and not 3. I don't hear anybody bitch about that. I just say it. But if you want to pay the women the same, go ahead. I don't think you can get the men disappointed or bitching about it. But let's just be honest, too. I love how everybody's piling on the men. Play some real teams. You qualify for the World Cup because who do you play? You play Cuba and Haiti and all the. You don't have to go to the and most of the games, by the way, are played. They play a lot of the U.S. games are played here comparatively. It's look, the men have a much tougher road, and when you get to the World Cup, it's a tougher thing. You got to play Ronaldo, right? You don't have to go up against Mertens, the star of Holland. Who? Exactly. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Chad, you're a jerk. A little bit. And I'm okay with that. Speaking of being a jerk, Trump, remember him? He's a jerk. Spoke today about the climate.
Since 2000, our nation's energy-related carbon emissions have declined more than any other country on Earth. Think of that. Emissions are projected to drop in 2019 and 2020.
Yeah. But once you get a hold of everything, you're going to destroy it because that's what you are all about, sir.
The very idea that he's trying to blame foreign polluters or look at what he calls an attack on American energy really is upsetting to not only moms, but to all Americans. I think we have to do better and hold this administration as well as future administrations accountable.
Yeah. And did he blame some? Yeah, he did today. And the reason is because they do. Let's be 100% honest. China and India, that paper they signed that says, hey, we're going to all be a part, everybody's going to be a part of the Paris Accord. You guys come over, we're all going to follow the rules. Now, here's the deal. America's going to really follow the rules, and we're going to want them to until Trump backed out because a lot of us aren't going to follow the rules, right? We're not. We're going to say we are, and then we're going to go do our own thing because that's what we do. We say one thing and we do another, and nobody really holds anybody accountable. Oh, I never thought of it like that. It's just the reality of it. Is there a better way of doing the things? Yes, we need to do better at the environment. I've said that over and over again. At the same time, we've got to figure out a way to do it in a way that doesn't bankrupt us or make things so ridiculously expensive that as you save the world, the people who do struggle and live paycheck to paycheck can't afford to live.
For years, politicians told Americans that a strong economy and a vibrant energy sector were incompatible with a healthy environment. In other words, one thing doesn't go with the other, and that's wrong because we're proving the exact opposite.
Yeah. Totally the exact opposite. Look, we can do both. We can look for cleaner, better energy. We can figure out a way to do that and usher in a new day when we get off fossil fuels. Usher in a day when we don't have to send money or just go out and drill for oil and do any of those things. We don't have to do any of that. But it's not coming tomorrow. And to do that, you got to do it in a way that is smart, that doesn't destroy your economy, and in many ways can build up the economy. But you've got to do it with a sound head and a mind where you're looking at it going, how do we do this properly? Ugh, goodness me. Such a jerk, that Trump. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. I just posted a picture. I Instagrammed a picture. Get ready for this, Bruce. Instagrammed a picture, and then automatically goes to Facebook. And Jack goes to his first basketball camp today. He's 9, right? And his little shirt, it's a Nike camp. And somebody just said, how dare you send your son there? That is so anti-American. Shut up. Get over yourself. By the way, all the I'm going to boycott, it doesn't work. It's not working. Nike, their record revenues, they caved. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. I think we can all agree with that. But the reality is it's not hurting. You know, I'm out here in Arizona. What Doug Ducey do? Well, we don't want to give money, Nike. We don't want you to bring jobs here. By the way, I'm going to wear Nikes. People are like, would you buy your kid Nikes? I'm like, yeah, he likes Nikes. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. Right? It was, they caved on something politically correct. Jack likes Nikes. It is what it is. I'm not going to whine about it. I always think it's hilarious, right? Like you drive a V-Dub, right? Well, yeah. Who do you think helped design that? Porsche and who? Who was that little guy with the mustache? Was a big part of that? The people's car? Right? Hugo Boss is still around. Last time I checked, I think they did some sort of uniform for somebody. So enough. Get over it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
I don't buy the boycott thing. I just don't. Never have. I've never got it. Like, if I don't want to spend my money somewhere, I'm not going to spend my money there. For whatever reason. I don't. That's not my thing. You know, it's never been my thing. And you got the cops in Tempe that were in Starbucks, and somebody's like, they make me feel uncomfortable, because in my mind that's what they sound like. They make me feel uncomfortable, barista. Please tell them to leave, because they're Nazis. So and then the next thing you know, there's ban Starbucks or drop Starbucks, whatever's trending, and it's silly. Now you've got a co-founder, Bernie Marcus, right? He's a mega donor. People found out that he's donated a ton of money to Trump's reelection campaign. So now it's boycott Home Depot. It's just so stupid. It is. Let me tell you something. You may go out tonight and get a pizza. Do you really want to know what that person's ideology is that's making your pizza, who owns your place? Is it that important to you? I'm just curious, because I feel like we're going to live like I have to know everything about you politically, your sexuality, what you identify as, all of that stuff before I'm able to make a decision of whether or not I want to be a patron of your facility and get your services in bleh. It's just so stupid. I don't care. Do you make a good burger? I'm going to come to your place, right? In-N-Out Burger. They tried to do that. Remember that a few months ago? Well, we found out that they're Christians and they've given money, so we're going to tell everybody that, first of all, In-N-Out Burger, for those of you who don't know, right? Around the nation, never had In-N-Out Burger. Producer Phil, do you enjoy an In-N-Out Burger? I just want to ask everybody.
I love an In-N-Out Burger.
He will cut you for an In-N-Out Burger. That is how much Phil lands on the airplane. He is kicking the door down while it's getting on the runway, just taxing down, jumping, and he's heading to an In-N-Out Burger. If you take your cup at an In-N-Out Burger and you hold it up and you look underneath, It's got a Bible verse. Oh, jeez. People may not feel inclusive. Oh. They tried to ban. People are like, you're stupid. I have friends who are gay. Not that it matters. But they go, I like chicken. And Chick-fil-A makes a great sandwich. They go there. They don't care. We're so insane. And this being used as a weapon all the time. And I feel bad for Nike because they've got to play this game. And I don't know why they play these games. But they also like the controversy. They love to play it up. But the whole banning stuff, Jack's wearing a Nike. People are like, Jack's wearing a Nike. How do you feel about that? I'm like, I like it. I don't care. He likes Nike. What do I care? That's what he likes. He likes. Didn't matter. It's just insane. This is our tribalism run amok. So think about it tonight when you're out. Think about this for just a second. You're out somewhere tonight. You're going to frequent a place, an establishment. Are you going to give it that much thought to what their political beliefs is, what their religious beliefs is, who's making your burger, what their political belief is, or whatever it is? Or are you just like, I just enjoy this place? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You had this plethora of Democrat candidates out there who were saying outrageous things with ridiculously stupid policies. And then what do we have today? President Trump's approval is now the highest it's ever been. And that gives you a clue on where Americans stand on these issues today.
Yeah. Now, granted, that's Katrina Pearson. She's on Fox. She's definitely a fan of the Trumpster. But I will say this. Even people that were, here's the reality. Normal people who live in a semi-normal world look and say, those things that you want to do, a lot of them are insane, right? And by the way, the average voter, not talking about the uber progressive voter that wants you to kowtow to them. The average voter understands you're pandering. They get it. They get your pandering to them. Right? You're speaking Spanish. You're doing all of these things. They're just like, whatever. You do you. They get it. They get it. His approval ratings are up. Now, so is his disapproval. Here's the thing, Trump. Very few people don't have a strong feeling for him. Right? One thing about Trump is he shows you who he is. You can like him or hate him. It is what it is. But the reality is you get what you get, right? This is who he is. We wanted somebody that wasn't a politician, that wasn't Joe Biden, that hasn't spent their entire adult life as a politician or in a family of politicians. We wanted somebody who wasn't that, and we got that. Because we were hoping he was going to break the system. The system would get somewhat fixed because we would go, and everybody would go, oh, wow, we can't do that anymore. People really want us to work together. But instead, the system's even more broken. And it shows us our tribalism. Over the weekend, Nancy Pelosi, she comes out. And she basically hammers the likes of Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and, of course, AOC. And they're frustrated. Here is Tlaib.
It is very disappointing that the speaker would ever try to diminish our voices in so many ways.
She's not diminishing your voices. She's not. But here's the reality of it. You guys are not the voice of the average Democrat. But, Chad, all of the stuff they talk about is really popular. Everything's popular until you find out how it works and how it has to be paid for. And the fact that you're going to be beholden to. All of it's popular. Well, single payer is very popular. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi says, you can go into my office. I got single payer signs from 30 years ago. Because people want choice with their single payer. They want choice. They want to be able to control some of their own destiny. It's all popular until you go, well, Like we talked about it before I went on the old little vacation there. The Reuters poll that came out. People are like, oh, climate change is vitally important. Well, this is what it's going to cost you. Yeah, I'm willing to give you $100 a year for it. Well, wait a minute. What if it costs you $2,000 to $3,000 a year? Well, I'm not into that because it's just about breaking it down and showing the devil in the details. And this is what it really looks like. If you knew today that 40% of the average American making, let's just say somebody's making 50 grand, right? 50 grand a year. You would be looking at a situation where you're going to have to spend 40%. Let's say your household, though, is 100 grand. So you're not paying for your insurance. Nope, not paying for any of it. Right? But you are paying for it because now you're going to be taxed at 40%. I'm just going with we're on the Scandinavian model. Let's run with it. Right? So $40,000 is going to taxes. Now, that doesn't include state taxes. Because you know the states in a lot of places are going to want their taxes. We want ours. Right? You think California's going to give up their 10%? Oh, no. Right? So you look at all the other taxes. Sales tax, tax on gas, right? Because you got to go to clean energy now. And you start looking up and you go, well, it sounded great until I find out that, you know what? We made 100 grand last year and I walked with 30, but I got $60,000 in bills. So my choice is the potential of one day something going south and us going bankrupt because of medical, or me struggling to survive on a day-to-day basis thinking, well, at least I don't have to worry about this one thing that may or may not happen. Nancy Pelosi just did something that nobody likes to hear, which is she told the truth. Guess who else told the truth? Biden, talking about the likes of AOC.
I think Ocasio-Cortez is a brilliant, bright woman, but she won a primary. In the general election fights, who won? Mainstream Democrats who are very progressive on social issues and very strong on education, health care. Look, my North Star is the middle class. When the middle class does well, everybody does well.
Here's the reality of it. He went there. He saw this thing that he was up against. He was a little taken off guard by how he got attacked. I don't know how. He was completely prepared for that. And they're still talking about it as if it matters busing 40, 45, 50 years ago. If we're still debating something that shouldn't be debated at this point in time. We live in the here and now. Let's think about going forward for a second. All right? And stop painting him to be this guy. He's a segregationist. He's all of these kind of things. Yeah, get over yourself. Right? We're here. We're today. He's talking about middle America. He's talking about the middle class. He's talking about the rural, the small city, the medium-sized city, the semi-conservative city, and the city that's Democrat, but it's Democrat in a middle America style. It's unions. It's pro-choice. But it's not pro-choice. They're like, hey, the baby's going to be born next week, but scenario. You know, they believe in the Second Amendment and they go to church, but they're Democrats. So he gets it. He sees the lane. There's a lot more of them than the people in the coast. And that's a lot who these people speak for. The people that won it for the Democrats last November were those kind of middle America, somewhat church going, somewhat mosque going maybe, somewhat not going at all, Second Amendment believers, but would like to see something done with gun control, but not the insanity that some of these people are pitching, want a situation where people can come and apply here for asylum, but at the same time realize that we can't just have an open borders and that we really do have problems that need to be dealt with, and aren't afraid to work across the aisle and be friends with other people. These other ones, they don't see that. It's their team versus our team. And the battle inside the Democratic Party, it's going to be ugly. It is. It is. Because we live in a world of sound bites, memes, tweets. Nancy's right. Look, You can have 1 million followers, 10 million followers. Your district isn't that big. How many people are coming to vote? That's what matters. That's what the battle is. Trump stays in his lane, and I think what you're going to see with Biden, he's going to stick in that lane. He's like, look, here's where I am, a middle-class Joe. This is the lane I'm sticking in, right here. This right here is the lane I'm going to stay in. Everybody else can go and raise their hand. Everybody who comes here should get free everything. Everybody who comes here should get free education. Everybody who comes here should get free. They should get this. They should get that. And he's going to be like, nah, you know what? No. We got to have some semblance of who we are as a country. And I think Joe has a better chance of winning against Trump than he does in his own primary. And all of it's for naught if the economy stays strong. You and I both know that. Speaking of the economy, I talked to Mark Hamrick at the bottom of the hour about the economy, the numbers, the surprise. How close are we to recession? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. The U.S. women's national team won. They won. Congratulations to them. And it's look, I was stoked, and I got some people tweeting at me throughout the day because over the weekend I tweeted about it, and I asked the question, it's like, how lovable are these? Right? How lovable are, because they weren't very lovable at times. They weren't very, not just the political side of it. Sometimes the way they even acted. I think one person, a woman, by the way, tweeted at me earlier, said they give us, this is what obnoxious American looks like at times. And I was stoked they won. I thought, actually, quite frankly, I was a little disappointed with the way they won. They should have crushed every team. They were so far better than that. They're on home soil now. And it's time to talk about money. And that seems to be the pressing issue. They want equal pay. And I've got no problem to a certain extent with the equal pay. I got zero problem with that when it comes to certain things. This whole thing that they're debating about, should the women get paid this or should the women get paid like men? And when it comes, the United States Soccer Federation doles out the money that they make from endorsements and they make from all these, the games and the whole 9 yards. They dole out that money, but the prize money has nothing to do with them. Has nothing to do with them.
How about the equal pay amendment that the House has passed? Why don't we put it on the floor of the Senate in honor of the women?
Chuck Schumer's got to weigh in. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. What exactly is that going to have in there? What's the equal pay amendment look like? How do we break that down? Right? In the sales world, do we get rid of all commission structures? Do we, if you've been there 15 years or you've been there 15 minutes, do we all get paid this? There's the same thing with sports, right? Like, how do you break that out? Should LeBron and Sue Bird, who, by the way, is Megan Rapinoe's girlfriend, she's one of the best basketball players, female basketball players, should they make the same amount of money? Well, Chad, now you're being stupid. Am I? Is it about revenue? What's it about? I'm curious. I heard, what's her name? She was on CNN. So, in other sports, they do it, like figure skating, because they want boys to participate, so they pay it equally. It's because they have to beg guys. Do you want to do it? You know why? The Chinese and the Russians were good back in the day for figure skating. You want to know why? Because your choice was, do you want to break rocks in Siberia? Or do you want to be a figure skater? Well, I wanted to play hockey, but I'd rather be a figure skater than break rocks in Siberia. We're going to get a 2-bedroom apartment. Phil was a hell of a figure skater. I don't know if you guys know that. Fantastic. My little brother, my family made him figure skate with my little sister before he could play ice hockey. I've got a picture of him somewhere in this velvet outfit. It was the most embarrassing thing. Like, whenever people are over that don't know, I take it out. He just goes, oh my God. Just so bad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Mark Hamrick is going to join us at the bottom of the hour, talk a little, like these things called economy and numbers and whatnot. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Starbucks is apologizing after an employee told 6 police officers, you gotta leave a Starbucks in Tempe, Arizona, saying one of the customers was uncomfortable with them being there. A worker approached the officers and told them, quote, the customer did not feel safe. Starbucks releasing a statement saying the officers, quote, should have been welcomed and treated with dignity and the utmost respect by our partners, employees.
Okay, well, just what about them makes you unsafe? By the way, apparently the customer in question was a white dude or a white gal or a white non-binary, whatever. I don't care. White-ish, maybe identified as. Whatever. Officers were white. What were you afraid of? Well, Tempe's had some issues and Phoenix has had a lot of issues and there's been a lot of stuff. And I'm just, you never know when they're just going to freak out and go maniac cop on us and start killing everybody. And so, what exactly were you afraid of? And it's silly, but the reality is this is that kind of weird world we live in. Well, Chad, you got to understand police brutality and stuff like that. It's like a shark attack. It happens, and we hear about it all the time, and it's made a massive story. But comparatively, if you break it down by the numbers to how many times a person comes in contact with an officer compared to what we hear, it is minuscule. And bad officers need to be gone. I'm not saying there's not bad officers. It's bad everything. You know that and I know that. But the fact that they did this is just insane. It is. It really is. I couldn't even imagine that. Hey, you guys have to leave because you've got your uniforms, your badges, and the guns and the whole thing. Scared people. You scared people.
Association President Rob Ferraro later went on Fox News and clarified his organization's stance.
We're not asking for a boycott of Starbucks, and we don't want the employee fired. Hopefully this is a learning opportunity and we can move forward.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I love the fact that they're not asking for, they're clarifying, we don't want a boycott of that. Other people take that up. Well, we think we should do it for you. We'll come out. No, don't. And other people have stood by and said that person has every right to. Those people, police officers don't show us respect. And you just sit there and you just like, it's when you have that attitude, and both sides have that, it's us versus them at times, it's not a winning formula. Remember, police officers on a daily basis come into contact with people who are not in the best situation, who are not in a good mood, who in some cases throughout the day, who've done something wrong. So we forget about those things. And there are plenty of times where officers absolutely need to be held accountable 110%. Because people are going to say, oh, Chad, you just don't get it. They're all bad. They're not all bad. I see cops here every single day. There were 2 here today doing a show in another studio. Both were female. Right? Along with a couple firemen. But it's just insane that we're in this situation. And this is the whole, we're going to be woke, and this is what we're, and you're being told now as a child that how bad and horrible they are and all of these kind of things. And that's not a winning formula. It isn't. It's not us versus them. And we need more transparency in policing. But we also need to get our heads out our ass. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Somebody just tweeted in what a jerk I am for saying that the women's team is not as good as the men's team. Like, okay, I'm not going to. They won. Great. Fantastic. I'm stoked for them. I pulled for them. But please, come back here to reality. We'll sit down and talk. Mark Hamrick, Bankrate.com. Let's talk a little economy. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Jobs, 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 jobs. Those are important. Absolutely. Economy is vitally important. I don't care what anybody says. It plays into the political world more than I think people realize, even though most of you kind of get that. Joining us now from Bankrate.com, Mark Hamrick. And Mark, wasn't great the month before last. This past month here, a little surprising, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, good to be with you, Chad. Well, that's why we have to wait till the numbers come out, see how the economy's stacking up on a monthly basis. And there have been some conflicting signs lately, but I think the broader takeaway in the intermediate term is that the U.S. economy is slowing, but, that is to be expected, having just sort of notched the 10-year mark on the economic expansion, which is a record holder in U.S. history. And so I think that you can make the analogy of, let's say, a marathon runner versus a sprinter. A sprinter may sort of give up all the gas at the beginning of the race and hope it makes it to the finish line if it's a 100-yard dash. Marathon runner is more about sustainability, and I think that this economy has been running a marathon, and there are all kinds of reasons to be concerned, but I don't think that we're in immediate danger of a recession in the near term. And obviously, when you're adding 224,000 jobs in a month and the unemployment rate is below 4%, that suggests that there's more than just a little gas in the tank.
You talk about some telltale signs of, hey, we should be looking, at a situation where maybe we could start to see a pullback here. What are some of the signs you look for? For me, I always look for consumer confidence is a huge thing, because I just think for all of the other things, if people feel like things are good, they're still going to get out there and do things. It's when everybody starts freaking out that you kind of get that groupthink that you really start to see everything just kind of go.
Yeah, I mean, you start with a good one, the one you mentioned, measures of consumer confidence, and those are doing pretty well. Lately, they have showed some signs of stress seemingly related to trade disputes and tariffs. Business sentiment is another, and business leaders are less upbeat on the outlook than they have been before, but still I don't think they're flashing danger signs. But, it's important that we sort of muddle our way through, if not better than that, with respect to not only the global economic situation, but also these trade disputes. And so whenever it was a month, 5 weeks ago, when the president was threatening to impose essentially a tax on all the goods that are brought into the United States from Mexico, I think a lot of us were hitting the virtual panic button because that would have had real impact on consumers for just about everything that we consume, and would have been detrimental for the North American economy as well. So, dare I say that we are now, about 16 months out from Election Day in the U.S., and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of other storylines we're going to be monitoring closely. But you're absolutely right. At the top of the list are the sentiment readings that tell us about the mood of consumers and business. And then, of course, for consumers, you need to have some financial skin in the game to the extent that you have a strong job market, or you have some kind of wage gains of inflation as they're running out of control, and essentially a low unemployment rate, because obviously if people aren't working, as we saw in the recession a decade ago, then that's going to cause all kinds of problems.
Talking to Mark Hamrick, Bankrate.com, as we discuss the economy. Let's talk about the Fed for a sec. Obviously, the battle of Trump, and he does not like the Fed, and I don't think the Fed is a big fan of him. What are they going to be doing? Because everybody looks, are they going to be raising rates, lowering rates? Because it's still, for all the indicators and the analytics and all of the data you put in there, it's still one of those things that's kind of an artwork as well, where you try to massage things, because the books may tell you one thing, but life's not played in the books.
Well, it's like medicine, right? It's as much art as it is science, and, physicians will tell us that, and I think monetary policy and trying to govern an economy, to regulate an economy, is some of that as well. And you need only look to the fact that last December and in the months preceding December, Federal Reserve was signaling that we'd have 2 to 4 interest rate hikes this year. And essentially the stock market fell out of bed in December. You had the lows for the major averages on Christmas Eve, and then Chairman Jerome Powell and others began to signal a pivot. I call it the Powell pivot, where they said, well, you know what, maybe we don't need to raise interest rates that much more after all. And now we've gotten here. It is obviously we're now in the second half of the year, and there seems to be a very real sense on the part of investors, among others, that we may indeed have an interest rate cut here. at the end of the month. So we've come a long way in 6 months' time. And if the Fed cuts once, it would be highly unusual that they don't keep going, meaning they probably would take rates down at least one more time through the end of the year. So all that is sort of seen as an insurance move, trying to forestall a more significant downturn. And, we'll have Chairman Powell on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, at which he'll have a prime opportunity to either inform essentially all of us that those expectations are right or wrong, or dare I say somewhere in between.
Talking to Mark Hamrick, Bankrate.com, as we discuss the economy. The tariffs are out there still, and obviously there's a big battle going on still with us and China. And China, as you know, and the battle that is, and it's much different. The whole thing about with Mexico and the tariffs here and there and how that really could have affected us. And it was to me, in many, especially me, I looked at, I'm not a big tariff guy, but I said he's using that as a weapon to try to get something, which I'm not a fan of. I understand why he's doing it to China. And let's be real. Everybody around the globe should be worried about what China would like to do, where they want to go, how they don't play, on an even playing field. They want to set everything up for themselves. What's happening with those, and how is it affecting certain industries like the steel industry?
Sure. Well, I think the number one downside risk that's cited by both business leaders and economists, meaning the thing that concerns them most about the business and economic outlook, is trade disputes and tariffs. And so to the degree that this creates a cloud of uncertainty, uncertainty is one of the number one toxic things that can dampen decision-making on the part of business leaders. And so to the degree that it has real impacts on their pricing, or, for example, knocks things like the market for soybeans basically, down to a very significant level where farmers in our country are really struggling now. Those are real impacts. And the same, obviously, on things like steel and aluminum, where obviously that feeds into the prices of automobiles and home building. The home builders say that that has lent, I think, something like $12,000 to the price of constructing a new home. Those are real things. In terms of the dispute, as you say, we know the president has enunciated the goals of doing all that. And then it raises the question, number one, will it be resolved anytime soon? And number two, what does the resolution look like? Is it truly meaningful for not only the manufacturing sector, but also, I think, the areas of the so-called newer economy that are of greater concern, that have to do with things like intellectual property and the sort of more robust and dynamic parts of the economy that will be feeding true growth for the years to come.
Yeah, again, I understand why he's doing it with China, and I support him with that. I just think I'm not a big fan of tariffs across the board, and I wasn't a fan when he threatened it with Mexico. But, China is something wholly different. We let him into the World Trade Organization, and they basically looked at us, and like everything else, they say, yeah, we'll do that, and then they don't do any of it. So I'm okay, as unfortunate it is that we're in a situation like this, but I understand it. Talking to Mark Hamrick from Bankrate.com. If we were looking for a job, what's the hot job market, and where's the market that's slowing down?
Well, I think if, let's say, I were to tell a high school student who is equally talented in all areas where to look for a job in the next few years, whether they go to college or not, it has to be in the STEM areas, so science, technology, and engineering, mathematics. People like Google, Amazon, et cetera, those firms are hiring as many of those people that are qualified as they can. So that's number one. But elsewhere, healthcare is going to continue to be one of the most dynamic and significant parts of our economy. We have an aging population, and we spend 1/5 of our GDP on healthcare. So that's important. And in that sector, there's really the breadth of wages available at both the low, the medium, and the high end of the equation. So obviously, if you're a specialty physician, you're going to do well in that realm, and you might be a tech in a lab drawing blood, and you're not going to earn as much money, but you do have a job. In terms of those that have been suffering, manufacturing has actually been sort of a trouble spot lately. It did rebound in this particular month. I would say at the top of the troubled list also is retailing. But that is also responsible for hundreds of thousands of jobs a month in our country. It just so happens that we have so many store closings, and I'd say disruption in different retail operations where some brands fall out of favor, or obviously you have the sort of nightmare that Sears Roebuck has been going through. So retail is a trouble spot, but some of those jobs are then being absorbed back into online-related entities, which include transportation, warehousing, and distribution.
You know, Mark, last question. I appreciate you coming on as always. You talked about the healthcare industry, and you said, again, it's 1/5 of our economy. If the Bernies of the world got their way, what would that do to our economy? How would that disrupt our economy in the short term and potentially the long term?
Well, first of all, I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that that's going to happen, but I will say that people I talk to who are, I would regard, for the sake of discussion, as actual experts in this realm, say that the only way we're actually going to address the problems that we have in our healthcare system is to have single payer. Now, that may not match anything along the lines of what some of the presidential candidates are advocating. But let's look at, let's say, the disadvantage of the system right now, which is the high cost not only of insurance but also for care, which can ruin people financially. Elizabeth Warren, whether you like her or not, has enunciated that, I think, very well. And the quality of care we have in the U.S., if you're measuring outcomes in terms of whether your investment is yielding so-called dividends, it's not. The outcomes in the U.S. are actually quite poor. But in terms of how you pay for all that, I guess Bernie is basically saying that, overall you may end up paying more, but perhaps you might have fewer people going broke as well individually because they have a catastrophic illness. So I think the devil will be in the details. And, as long as Mitch McConnell's running the Senate, if someone's concerned about some of these policies being put into place, that's not going to happen as long as Mitch McConnell has his hand on the gavel in the U.S. Senate.
Absolutely. As always, man, love having you on. Appreciate you. Hope you had a good holiday. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Always good to be with you, Chad. Thanks so much.
Man with the dulcet tones in that voice. Mark Hamrick from Bankrate.com. At Chad Benson Shows, your Twitter, ChadBenson. I just look and I think when it comes to the economic side of what it would do for us, I think it would be the devil's in the details. And that is the big thing, because what do you think is going to happen if you throw 170 million people off their health insurance? You're going to then have to turn around and put them on a government health insurance. You're going to have to take a lot of those people who are working in insurance companies and maybe only making $15, $20 now. Now they're going to be making God knows how much working for the government, or then farmed back out as contractors, making even more, because government, as we all know, loves to spend other people's money. We never take in that kind of thing, the administrative cost that's going to cost us, on top of everything else. And it flabbergasts me. Hey, why not have both? If you want to give people the option, I'm not going to fight that. I'm not. Most people don't want to go broke, saving their lives or paying for a surgery. In fact, nobody does. Give people the options. But give them the options. Don't take it away and then say, this is what you have to do or else. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows, your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Blink. 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 It's incredible. Tell you that all the time. We have ours set up throughout the house. I got them set up everywhere, and I'm looking at the lizards and stuff. And this past week, it was cool because I can monitor, especially now that I've got a couple really massive cages. Like to see what's going on in there. And quite frankly, it's not just that. I mean, I worry. I spend a lot of money on my lizards, a lot of time, and it wouldn't be unheard of for somebody to try to come and snake my lizards, if you will. And I'm glad I've got Blink. I've got my smartphone app, so I can see what's going on, both inside the house and outside the house. Got the two-way talk app. It's incredible. It's totally affordable. It starts under $100. Doesn't get any better than that. And those XT2 cameras and all the other things they have there are just so incredible. No contracts, totally affordable, easy to set up, wire-free, couple AA lithium batteries. Last you a couple of years. You're going to absolutely love this. And again, never, ever has it been easier and less expensive than it is now with Blink. Get your Blink cameras now. Visit blinkprotect.com/Benson. That's blinkprotect.com/Benson. Blinkprotect.com/Benson. Blink, their cameras are available Amazon, Best Buy, and it's an Amazon company. And it works with Alexa, which is always nice. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
Oh, you found
the laughing woman and the man who shot video of her licking a carton of ice cream and putting it back into a grocery store freezer are clearly enjoying themselves.
Oh.
After picking through a jungle of online trolls and false postings, police in Lufkin, Texas say they've located and spoken to the licker. She's only 17, which is lucky for her. She'll face only juvenile charges. Had she been 18, she could have been looking at 20 years in prison.
This want to do something completely asinine and stupid and then to broadcast it to the globe is amazing. I don't get it, but there is this need, this want. It's like, hey, I got a great idea. I'm going to do something stupid. Excuse me. This isn't long gone are the days where like, okay, we're all going to see how many people we can get into a phone booth or a VW bus, or we're going to swallow goldfish. Right? Like, this is otherworldly stupidity. So she goes into a store, she gets a Bluebell ice cream, which is delicious. And she licks it. And her friend's like, oh, you're so nasty. Right? It's Tide Potty in a lot of ways. Oh, kids, guess why it's Tide Potty?
The latest video follows the same disgusting pattern. A man opens a carton of ice cream, licks it, pokes his finger into it, and puts it back. This time, the suspect, Lenice Lloyd Martin of Ascension Parish, Louisiana, is easily identified and arrested. Because he went back and bought the ice cream in question, he faces a reduced charge, unlawful posting of criminal activity for notoriety and publicity, which still carries a possible $500 fine and 6-month jail term.
I'm going to go out on the limb and say that $500 fine would have to be paid in installments. Just such a jerk, Chad. What an idiot. People are stupid. You had a woman last week who ate half a cake, right? Then only wanted to pay for half of it at Walmart or something. It's like, people are insane and they're stupid and they're dying for attention. Did mom and dad not like you enough? How many likes do you have to have? What is it all about? What do you think's going to happen? Let me ask you this question. I would just like to say, okay, so you go and you do this, right? And you get 1 million views. Then what? What's the next thing you're going to lick that's going to make you a star? People are stupid. That camera has made them stupid. Case in point, a lawyer, an American lawyer thought, hey, I'm going to run with the Bulls. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to run with the Bulls. And I'm also going to take a selfie with the bull as I run, only to find out that the bull was a real bull, and that's no bull. Shattered his cheek. Luckily, didn't hit any of the jugular vein or major arteries. Miraculous to say the least. But an idiot, I would think twice about using him as an attorney. I'm just throwing it out there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Since I saw you on December 30th, we've had over 500,000 people cross our southern border. The predominant crossings are made by family units, unaccompanied children, and then single adults.
What? No. 500,000? Impossible. Think about how many we don't catch. That's always my question. Think about this, because you've got places in Arizona, where I'm at right now. You've got all these places where you have the tribal lands, the Tohono O'odham tribal land that actually goes into Mexico, where you can't really patrol it at all. So think about how many people pass through there. I don't care how big of a wall you build, you're not going to be able to build anything there. It's nuts. It's crazy. And once again, I took a week off and came back, and they're still arguing over how to fix this, and we've got people that are detained, and kids are living in cages, which is not true, but that's the way everybody's going, kids not living in cages. But my question, like I continue to ask everybody, I never get a real answer from anybody on the left. Is what do we do with everybody? Well, Chad, they're here for asylum. They want asylum. Okay, so we give them asylum hearing, but that's 2, 3, 4 years from now. Then we give them asylum hearing. They have built a life here because we have this bizarre situation where we say, all right, well, now you can go out and live your life here in America. They may or may not show up. And if they don't show up, what? Well, we don't want to look for them because they're the law-abiding one. You scratch your head. You scratch your head. Nothing is getting done. Nothing is getting done. But what do we do? Nobody ever gives me an answer worth a damn. How do we fix this? I think there's several ways to fix it. But for you out there, what would you do? Because building a wall isn't the answer, especially if you're not going to enforce the law. And we have this kind of game that's being played. Remember that Trump could build a wall tomorrow, and the next person could come in, decide to take some of that wall down or all of that wall down, or decide to get rid of any kind of repercussions whatsoever if you come here illegally and allow everybody to apply anywhere they want to go for asylum. So what do we do? I'm just curious. Nobody ever has an answer that's worth a damn. Because let me tell you, people talk all the time, like, what happened to the Romans? What happened to the Mayans? What happened to them? They disappeared. It all fell apart. You know what happened? Eventually, as the population grew, everybody started mixing with Mayan culture and everything else, and eventually it all slowly but surely went away. It wasn't some mysterious thing. And you have these people who are really into the open borders idea, this globalization. I read an article the other day, I think it was from 2015, and talked about the fact that if we were to have an open border scenario within my lifetime, America would cease to exist. And it would be that way for any nation. Right? So if the UK, if England had an open border policy, anybody could come there, they would cease to exist. That culture would essentially slowly but surely die out. Go back and look through history, how many cultures have slowly but surely died out and disappeared. Is that what we want? For the sake of what? I'm just curious. So what do we do? How do we fix this thing? I think it's a very fair question to ask, but I never get any real answers. And God forbid you say, look, you know what? I want us to remain a culture and a country. Because doing that, you get blamed. You get told that you are evil and you are bad and you're a white supremacist and you're all of those things. And American culture is nothing but racism. I have news for each and every one of you. Go look around the globe and show me a nation that walks free of any kind of past immorality or bad actors back in the day. Show me one. You can't find one. You can't. Doesn't matter. Go look. Whether it's their own people or whether it's other people's, show me one. But somehow we get blamed for everything and people want to destroy. The reason people want to come here is because of what America is. And then the minute people get here, they're like, we should probably tear this whole thing down. It's like, what? No. We need to figure something out. We do. And this whole thought process that we're watching here in this crazy 2020 election and these Democrats that are running, it's like, we should do this and we should do that and we should be this and we should be that and everybody should be allowed. And blah. It's insane. It's like anybody up there, an adult, that says, no, look, we got to get control of our borders. Because if we don't, we cease to be a nation. And if we cease to be a nation, then what? Right? If we cease to enforce any of these things, what do you think happens then? In a lifetime. In a generation. How would that look? You would have the wealth disparity like you couldn't believe. And then what you'd start to see is states and everywhere else in areas that would want to break off from it. So what do we do?
The district that I represent, the Massachusetts 7th, is 40% immigrant. The families that I spent time with yesterday are from Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Cuba. And every day with this administration, whether we're talking about mixed immigration status policies from HUD or military policies to separate families or the Department of Homeland Security, every day they are working hard to criminalize immigrants and to separate them as families.
But it's all a bunch of crap. That's Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman. It's all a bunch of crap. They're not set up to do this. We're not set up to have 500,000 plus people. Think about this. 500,000 plus have come through and been apprehended. We're in July. We're on pace to 1 million plus apprehended. How many haven't been? What do we do with them? Because I guarantee when you signed up to be a border agent, it wasn't, oh, by the way, you're going to be a nanny. You're going to be an administrator. You're going to be, you just check it all off. It's easy to point fingers. But at some point in time, something needs to get done about it. It does. What's it going to be? I don't know, because I don't see too many adults in the room. Whether you like Trump, hate Trump, whatever it is, he brought it to the forefront that we have a problem. And it's not just a humanitarian crisis. There is another issue that's going on. And people are coming here in droves. Their nations are falling apart. And somehow we've got to take care of everybody. It's frustrating because as a person who sees it go on every single day, who's been at the borders, who's in an area that is seeing an influx of people crossing here illegally with no plans, by the way, in a lot of ways. You sit back and you say to yourself, well, what now? What now? Because I don't see anybody who wants to get something done in a real way, who wants to say, hey, look, I'm going to put my pride, put my ego, my party, we're going to put it all aside. You do the same thing. And let's try to get something done. It's not going to happen. Not in this world of tribalism. Not with what's at stake. Especially long term. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shoe is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Check out the Instagram as well. Put a couple lizards up there. People are like, what kind of lizards do you have? I got a ton of lizards. So I put some of the lizards up there and you guys can check them out. People are like, how big is it? Like, that one's 6 foot. This one's that. What do they eat? Do they eat fruits and they do not eat fruits and vegetables. They're not a fruit and veggie type of lizards. I'm just letting you guys know that.
Money, 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 money. Right? Money from FIFA, money from federations, money from advertisers, sponsors, rights holders, TV, all of that. And obviously not just, blindly throwing cash at things, but investing in infrastructure, in training programs or academies for women, in coaching for women, in all of it. I don't think you sort of get to the point of having an incredible business by running it, on a budget that's $1 more than it was last year.
That right there is Megan Rapinoe. And I'm asking the question today. Did they endear themselves? So the women went out. They won their second consecutive, their fourth overall World Cup. We're dominant in women's sports. You can look around the globe. We are dominant in so many ways, in just about everything when it comes to women's sports. We really are. And I asked the question did they endear themselves? Because I think in many ways it became a right-left thing, a conservative, they're against Trump and they're mad at the soccer federation because they feel they're not getting paid enough, which, by the way, yesterday, they won, so they got prize money. It's nowhere near what the men get. But the United States Soccer Federation, who they're suing, has nothing to do with that prize money. Nothing. They don't pay it out. They don't get it. It goes to them. It goes to the federation and then to them, allocated to them. But they don't decide how big the prize money is. That's somebody else who does. That has nothing to do with it. But as much as I watched it, I said this. It's at times they were hard to like them. That was the reality. I love the fact that they won. Thought they could have done better. Thought they should have blown every team out by far more. I think they left too many goals out there. But I also watched the games and stuff, and I got to be honest, some of them did not endear themselves to, and made themselves victims when we are playing against a bunch of countries where, like the English, just now over the last year or two, they've gone professional. Our women have been professional for a very long time. Right? We've got such massive advantage, and you always crying victim. I don't buy it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You tweet at us. Text the program as well. That is the text line, the 323-538-2423. That is the actual text line. It comes directly to me. I will answer your text as best that I possibly can. I will do that. I promise you. I get a lot of them, but I try to get to each and every one of you. Your teeth. How important are they? They should be vitally important. Vitally important. I have a friend, a lady who helps out at the house and everything, and she's got bad teeth. And we're working with a doctor to help her get it fixed. And it's really, really, really bad. And you don't realize what your smile is so important. It's so vitally important. And as you get older, things happen. Like your teeth actually move. And you don't want to get adult braces because you don't want that. So what do? Well, you go to Candid. Right? They've got orthodontists. They're licensed in your state. They're going to create a treatment plan for you. And then what they're going to do is they're going to send you a 3D plan. It's a preview of what it's going to look like. And it is incredible. It really, really is. There's no dental professionals, actual experienced orthodontist, licensed in your state. Once you approve that plan, custom clear aligners are sent to you. And then, boom, away you go. You're never going to have to go to an orthodontist's office. 65% less in braces. You're going to save thousands of dollars. You're going to have brighter, whiter, straighter teeth in an average of just 6 months. Think about this. Right around Christmas, having teeth that are perfect, brighter, whiter, straight. How amazing would that be? Christmas pictures will look great. Treat yourself. Do the right thing. Give yourself that $1 million smile. Save yourself $75 off. Check out right now. Go to candidco.com/Benson to learn more. That's candidco.com/Benson. Candidco.com/Benson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Do you have a driver's license? How about a state ID? Well, according to new documents and emails obtained by the Washington Post, those photos are being mined by federal investigators using facial recognition technology. Both the FBI and ICE turning to local state driver's license databases, capitalizing on what the Post described as an unprecedented surveillance infrastructure. The use of DMV photos has not been authorized by Congress nor state legislatures, and members from both sides of the aisle have criticized the use as dangerous.
And this is the problem when you take something great, like the opportunity to have facial recognition and use it for certain things. This is the problem with this because people abuse it. People absolutely abuse it. And that's the fear, right? That's the fear for me, for government across the board, is you take something that's good. You take something that you think, hey, this has so many great applications and things we can do with this thing. And then government says yes. And then government takes it and they say, well, let's take it a step further. And then we'll turn it on to the people. And that's always the problem. The problem is they'll always take more. That one bite's not enough. And that's the fear factor, right? Like, I don't want a database. And that's the fear factor across the board when people talk about gun control. Why? Because once government has the opportunity to do something, you know they're going to overstep. The Constitution means nothing. They'll figure out a way to do it and around it, and they'll fight it, and they got more money, and they can last forever. And we all know even if you win, doesn't mean they're going to stop. Same thing with facial recognition. It's nuts. It is. And I understand the worry about this and why cities are already jumping up and saying no. I mean, in the applications, I was talking the other day about a perfect example of this is having facial recognition for pharmacies, for certain medications. What that would do to try to cut down on things, to see who's doling out what and who's doing what. But we know what would happen. because you can't trust the powers that be because they'll overdo it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. A couple of people texted in about the U.S. women's national team. Somebody said, quite frankly, that, that this is the epitome of what an ugly American is. And the first game that they won 13-0, I thought was ridiculous. The other games, I think they celebrated accordingly. And the other day when Alex Morgan scored against the English and she did the T thing with her pinky in the air, I thought I got no problem with that. I didn't. I think a lot of the way that they did handle, I think some of the other things was very much, I don't know. It just didn't endear me to this team. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Shoe.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Association for the Tempe, Arizona Police Department says on the 4th of July, 6 officers were enjoying their drinks at this Starbucks ahead of their holiday shift when a barista asked them to leave because a customer complained their presence made him feel unsafe. After the officers left, the association tweeted, "Several of those cops are veterans who fought for this country. #ZeroRespect," alongside a dump Starbucks image. It's a message that quickly began trending online, along with the hashtag boycott Starbucks.
Yeah, and okay, so here's a couple things. First and foremost, my hotel that I stayed at last night is right across the street. I pass that Starbucks 3-4 times a week. I don't get Starbucks. I'm not a coffee drinker. That's not my thing, but it is what it is. Let me ask you a question. I'm just curious. What did you think was going to happen to you? Like, they make me uncomfortable. I like you to ask them to leave. First and foremost, if you're the barista, you're like, I got to go ask these 6 guys to leave. Secondly, what did you think was going to happen? Like at any given time. Well, Chad, you got to understand something. You go look at Phoenix and you look at Tempe and there was a kid shot earlier this year and he had and Phoenix has real issues in and around there. The entire thing seems to be just crazy. So I could see that all of this is just, you could be uncomfortable. Come on. What do you think's going to happen? I'm curious. Like that one of them's going to go, dude, now's the time. I've been here. I've been drinking my latte, sipping my latte. It's about time to start popping caps in people's asses here at Starbucks. Oh my God. What the hell is wrong with us?
Association President Rob Ferraro later went on Fox News and clarified his organization's stance.
We're not asking for a boycott of Starbucks, and we don't want the employee fired. Hopefully this is a learning opportunity and we can move forward.
Which I love right there, right? Like for all the craziness, and we're going to boycott this, that, and the other. He's like, no, look, you know what? Let's not fire anybody. Let's make this a learning experience, and we'll go from there. And it's not the employee's fault because the employee what do you say? Right? What do you say in a situation like this? How in God's name, like, why are you so scared? And wait till you hear. Because, right, there's, some people support.
Some people are also backing the customer who complained. On Twitter, one user wrote, "I don't feel safe around the police ever. You need to work harder to earn our respect and trust." And another wrote that perhaps the customer felt unsafe because of a history of racial profiling and police brutality in Arizona.
Okay, so there you go. So there it is. You know what? Everybody needs to work harder, right? And the cops here have a big issue over the last several months and couple years of dealing with issues of you had a Tempe officer who shot a 14-year-old boy this year who had a gun There was an airsoft gun, and it looked like a real gun. And he shot him. He's out of the force. He's retired. They're still looking into it. But I'm curious as to what you think was going to happen, right? Officers every single day. It is a crappy, horrible job. And I see officers every day in and out of the studio. They do a couple of different shows here. There's always at least one or two that come through, and on Wednesday or Thursday, there's anywhere between with the fire department as well, probably 15, 20 officers in here throughout the day. And we'll joke about it. It's not. You catch everybody at their worst time. Now, racial profiling. Well, let's talk about that.
The customer and officers involved in this incident here in Tempe have not been identified. But according to the New York Times, they are all white men. The department tells CBS News it met with Starbucks executives yesterday and will continue to talk today as they work together to strengthen their relationship.
Wait a minute. So the customer's a white person. So there goes the racial profiling, right? I don't get it. I don't. Do people do it on purpose to see if you can get that? Look, communities across the board and law enforcement have got to do a better job of bridging. And there has been issues. But we take a situation and of a cop that does something bad. And there are cops out there that are awful officers who do bad things. And you know what? I talked to an officer a couple weeks ago who said essentially, we want them gone as much as anybody else. We can't stand it as much as anybody else. Because when one person does something wrong, it's everybody's fault. And we get blamed for it. But because you continue to tell everybody how bad they are. Kids are being raised nowadays to know, hey, cops are nothing but awful human beings, and they're always just out to get you. When you know that's not true, but in certain areas, it doesn't matter. By the way, it doesn't matter the color of the officer either. It's in many cases, it's more about the uniform than it is anything else. But once again, Starbucks has got to make an apology. Like, oh, we're super sorry about this. That was stupid. That was dumb. And who are you? What happens? Let me ask you a question, too. Here's another one. You're that person who is afraid of the police for whatever reason. Something happens to you. Who do you call? I'm just curious. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of controversy,
you might say Nike's recent motto is just don't do it. The company pulled a sneaker featuring an old version of the American flag from stores after former NFL quarterback and Nike spokesperson Colin Kaepernick reportedly criticized the design. The Betsy Ross flag with 13 stars to represent the original colonies was created during the era of slavery.
So the Betsy Ross flag, and they pulled it, and we all know what happens, and it's just, and here's the other thing with the Betsy Ross flag. It's being used by white supremacist groups and alt-right groups and things like that. It's being kind of just taken over and hijacked. Look, first of all, you had Doug Ducey, the governor, who just said, we don't want your money here, Nike, and we don't want any manufacturing or any of this stuff. And the next day he's wearing Nikes, and you just shut up, right? At some point in time, you can look at every symbol, right? And you could make it offensive. You can. You can make it somewhat offensive. That phone that you're carrying right now, right? So everybody's got a phone, unless you're a weirdo. You got one of those ones that are stuck in your house, those weird phones. Who do you think made that? Well, slaves didn't make it. Are you sure? Not so much slaves, but think about who's making these phones in places like China and Vietnam, and the amount of money they're getting and the way they're being treated when you find out more and more every day. Think about the issues with the sweatshops in places where they make Nikes. right? Could you not say something like every day? When I drive in here, I pass an area because I live a little bit more rural because I don't like people, and where I'm at, they grow a lot of cotton. Should we get rid of cotton? Because it's offensive, right? Should we get rid of this American flag because it's offensive? I mean, you can find something in everything where you can go back. At some point in time, you got to stand up and say, you know what? This is kind of ridiculous. This is. And so I said it earlier. When I watched the whole thing this weekend with Stalin, I watched this great, and quite frankly, again, in my vacation, what am I doing? I'm watching 6 hours of Stalin documentary. And I've seen just about every documentary ever. You think of, I when it comes to World War II and Stalin and Hitler and Chairman Mao and all of these, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this, and something that they said about Stalin when they were talking about it, he said, let's destroy the past and make a clean start. Is that what we're doing? I feel like that's what people want to do. That's why I tell everybody, the Constitution to a younger generation means nothing. It was written by old white guys in powdered wigs who had slaves, who were bad people, who were just the worst kind of human beings, who mean nothing to this nation, and everything that they did was built on evil, slavery, and should be torn down and rebuilt. So it means nothing to them. And they're being told as they go through school that it's awful, it's horrible, these people are bad, get rid of this person, get rid of that person. Everything that they've done, we literally whitewashing history is what they would like to do, yet all of those things aside, and again, not saying they're great people, they were who they were for the day that they were in. But at some point in time, you have to also look back and say, you know what, though? On that foundation that they built, look what we have. Look what we have. Look at that. For good, for bad, for worse, look at what we have now. And to get rid of all of that and to destroy it, then what do we have? We have nothing. It's just a bunch of people walking around with no heritage. Ask yourself, is that where we're headed? Because it feels like it. And you can find anything to offend anybody in this day and age. You can. Whether it's 100% cotton by Hanes. Oh, yeah, I never thought of that. Or to think about that the person that's building some of your parts for your phone or the shoes that you wear maybe isn't living the life that you are in your wokeness. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Please feel free to tweet at and check out the old Instagram as well, right? I'm posting some pictures. People ask me all the time, what are your lizards like? What are your lizards like? What are your lizards like? This is what they're like. This is what some of these things are. And no, they don't. One of them eats fruits and vegetables. The famous one, Winston. Everybody else eats meat. Here's what they had yesterday. Producer Phil, how much seafood did you have on your vacation?
I had an awful lot of seafood. In fact, I don't think I ate anything but seafood for a week.
So yesterday, my big boys, they had salmon, tons of it. They had crayfish, whatever it is, and they had some crab. Oh yeah, they were living life. I posted that. People were like, they eat better than me. I eat better than a lot of critters. They do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show Twitter. Tweet at us. Wounded Paw, an amazing organization. Speaking of first responders, we were earlier. You know that every day, every single day, so many dogs are being euthanized. Also, 20-plus veterans a day are committing suicide. And this is where Wounded Paw came in. The Wounded Paw Project connects dogs that are going to be euthanized by rescuing them, training them to be service dogs, and then getting them to our veterans, our first responders, and their families. And it is absolutely amazing. But they need your help to continue to grow, and they're growing fast. You can check everything out at woundedpawproject.org. What they need is your vehicle. You've got an unused vehicle, a vehicle that's just sitting there. It's taking up space. It's somewhere that you're housing it, and quite frankly, you're never going to use it again. You think about selling it. They need it. Truck, RV, whatever it is, car, boat, they'll come pick it up. You're going to get an amazing tax-deductible gift, and as they say, you're going to be saving a paw to save a life. They also take cash donations. Check them out right now. 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. Or visit woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
Britain's ambassador to the U.S. is in a diplomatic tight spot. According to leaked memos obtained by Britain's Mail on Sunday, Ambassador Kim Darroch reportedly said Donald Trump's presidency could crash and burn, and called his administration inept and uniquely dysfunctional.
Trump's also come out and said, I'm never going to deal with that guy again. Dysfunctional? Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of that. And remember, I think every administration, Trump more so than a lot of others, has dysfunction and fighting. The coverage of Trump is so massive. And this is one of the things, like when you see the coverage of AOC and Tlaib and the fighting that goes on and why she gets so much press, is because they're looking for the next Trump. They're looking for the next person that is going to come out and who's going to give them sound bites that people can react to. And that's AOC. That's Tlaib. They're willing to say things that are, many people stick back and go, what? They're willing to do that because Trump is not going to last forever. He's either going to be here for another 18 months or so, 2 years, and then he's going to be gone in 6 years if he wins re-election. But there's going to have to be a next, and she is the foil to that. That's why they like that, because Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell and Pelosi don't give you the same thing AOC does. Right? They give you the stat answers, and they're boring. It's the same old thing, and nobody buys it. Where they look at her, and they realize she's willing to throw all kinds of crap out there and do it. They like that because they need that. They become addicted to that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us.
The laughing woman and the man who shot video of her licking a carton of ice cream and putting it back into a grocery store freezer are clearly enjoying themselves. After picking through a jungle of online trolls and false postings, police in Lufkin, Texas say they've located and spoken to the licker. She's only 17, which is lucky for her. She'll face only juvenile charges. Had she been 18, she could have been looking at 20 years in prison.
Yeah, could have been. Not going to. But could have been. It's another one of those things where our desperation to get seen is so it's so big inside of us, and it's this little ball of I need fame that I've got to do something stupid, and that includes licking ice cream and putting it on the web or doing something ridiculous, robbing something and showing the world how just goofy I am, how asinine I am, because people are addicted. They want the likes, they want the clicks, they want the shares. There's an addiction. And on top of that, you got stupidity. Can't fix stupid, kids. You know that. It's good to be back. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Your useless info of the day. It is illegal to whisper in somebody's ear when hunting moose in Alaska. Oh, now you know. Have a great rest of your day. Night, night, Jack.
This
This is The Chad Benson Show.